Podcast is live.
Last thing I checked, it says it's live at the moment. So
Everyone can see and hear us.
Loading.
As this episode of Simple Blasphemy is loading, it is brought to you by our Patreons. Keep us commercial free and join our Patreon today. Patreon.com/Simple Blasphemy. Check out our website, simpleblasphemy.com.
Yes. Remember, people, drive safely and have loads of hot, nasty stuff.
It's too late now. This is Simple Blasphemy.
Holy shit.
Are we there already?
We are there already.
Sweet. That's rocking.
This is the most people we've had on the podcast at one time, period. So welcome, everybody.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. And hey, welcome to the Simple Blasphemy Podcast. For us, this is special because this is episode number 100. And somehow...
Jesus Christ.
Can you believe it? Zach still thinks that nobody listens to this.
I don't.
100 people at least.
Thank you, all the blasphemers out there. My name is Zach Ward, and here I have with me always Andy's.
I'm going to read something. So, because we're all caught up in this COVID-19 bullshit, this is what I want to be the only part we talk about it, because the rest of the time is going to be devoted to Sponge. I fucking love Sponge. I enjoy listening to them. I have since I was much younger. But what is a hobbit? So a hobbit is a person that is smaller than a dwarf, and they love peace and quiet and a good tilled earth. They dislike machines, but they are handy with tools. They are nimble, but don't like to hurry. They have sharp ears and eyes. They are inclined to be fat. They wear bright colors, but seldom wear shoes. They like to laugh and eat 6 meals a day and drink. They like parties and like to give and receive presents. They inhabit a land they call the Shire, a place between the river Brandywine and the Far Downs. Now, the fuck we're doing right now, that's exactly what everybody needs to be.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andy. Apparently, you've been a stay-at-home teacher.
Stay at home, right? Stay at home. Can we swear on this? Is that probably?
Fuck yes. Fuck
stay the fuck home, man. Stay the fuck home.
That's right. Be a hobbit. For the love of God, be a hobbit. Drink a whole bunch and get fat for a little while so nobody fucking dies.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Mr. Zach Green, up at the Mixmaster, we have Vinny, we have Andy, and we have Tim here today from Sponge.
Some of my favorite people, honestly.
Oh, thank you.
I love all of your music. Everybody,
all of
it that exists here today, except for myself. I love all of your music.
So
my shit could use some work.
Yes.
Before
triple W.
Before we get into this, there's a few things I'd like to say really quickly. And Andy, we're from the Toledo area, and Detroit has always been our big brother for the most part, and musically especially. All 6 of us play music, and the one thing when I was a lad, Green, you are too.
I play bass. It doesn't count. Sorry, Eddie.
Except for Tim.
Top Andy. Top Andy. That's the top Andy.
Yeah, really.
I like being calling Top Andy.
The one thing I'd like to say is I can speak for a lot of people that the band Sponge has given so much inspiration for us Toledo guys, mainly because we're so close to the border. Hey man, these guys did it.
You're the fucking first biggest thing that I remember coming out of when I was younger. I'm just going to say when I was younger. So I have a dozen stories about you assholes, but I've already told them to you when I've met you before. So anybody that wants to know those
I
can
want
go.
to know the stories.
Yeah.
There's enough time for this.
He's on the spot, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
They're all. I'm going to make them really quick. They're all positive stories. The first time I went to what was it called when Limp Bizkit played up at the Phoenix Amphitheater. Oh no, it was Warped Tour. It was the first Warped Tour. One of the first Warped Tour. And I went there to see the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and Limp Bizkit, and I saw Vinnie walking down one of the pathways, and I said, "Hey, there's Vinnie from Sponge." And you were really cool to me. You were really nice to me. And I said, "Hey man, you should come down and play in Toledo because we don't get to see you guys that much." And you played down in Toledo at a place called Rally by the River, which was our big thing that we did down next to the Maumee River. But the thing is that you guys got done playing, and I was with my girlfriend at the time. I was like 17 or 18 years old. And I'm standing there with my girlfriend. I was like telling her the story, and she thought I was full of shit. And then you did this, I'm a big girl, you're a big girl, yeah, kind of thing, where you got everybody on stage and everybody's dancing and being good. And you pointed at me and you said, "I know you, get up here, bring your girlfriend." And I got to bring my girlfriend up there. And it's because of you that I had a great time. But between that and the fact that one of my bands opened up for you guys, you've always been very gracious hosts, very awesome showman. And this is a definite boon for me.
Yeah,
I dig it. I dig it.
This is a huge thing for me. My
That's an awesome
first
story.
Oh yeah, my first my band was called Lockjaw. My first opener was for Sponge at a place called The Main Event here in Toledo, Ohio. But hey, whatever. Let's just dive into this. We have a unique experience that we have the Loft guys and Vinnie. So let's just kind of take advantage of trying. There we go.
Do it. Oh my God!
God
You got
damn.
the shirt on. I was
Andy-
expecting to see boobies.
Yes, right.
I was waiting for Andy to hold up a little sign where he could buy the shirt, which could be that. So Andy and Tim, you guys had the Loft recording studio. Vinnie, you were a poet songwriter. So how did this relationship begin when like Sponge formed in 1991 and Rotting Pinata kind of came out in 1994? How did you guys come together? And I don't know who's supposed to start first, so it's on you.
Go ahead,
Andy,
Mixmaster.
Andy, you were the first one who really was involved with Vinnie through Loud House.
Before that,
before that, even right.
Yeah, I think
Was
it's
that
kind of
Bobby
funny.
Blue Bland?
It's been so many years that I think if any one of us tell the story, it's going to be completely different. So I could tell mine.
Let's set the record straight.
Let's go halvesies.
Yeah,
Set the record
I
straight.
wrote it on my unicorn, and exactly.
So
At Build-A-Bear.
worked for a band based out of Milwaukee. Vinnie was the drummer. I was fresh out of the appliance section at Kmart. So I was plucked from Kmart, went to on the road to do live sound, knew nothing about it. My brother Tim is way older than me. He's like a year and a couple months older than me. Taught me like in 10 minutes everything he could about a board, the soundboard.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? I got a flying X and a rat pedal. I don't know what. So
You get two metal tones.
So
order Jim Beam, not Jack Daniels. There's more booze in there.
right.
That's all I got to say.
Vinnie was the drummer for that band. A couple years go by, he quits to join to get in the college scene, and we're all doing this 80s rock thing. We're thinking that's a bunch of BS. College music, what is that at that time? So Vinnie went on to do great. The whole story goes on to do great things, but he joined a band. I'll let Vinnie tell this story. He had a few bands, and I was doing sound for them. One of them had a deal, Loud House, on Virgin Records, and
Vinnie was a drummer at this.
It was
point,
a drummer,
too. You guys don't know.
absolutely. Yeah, I didn't say that.
He had a 4-inch green mohawk. Man, he would play. It was awesome.
Google Mohawk, and he shows up.
I don't think
green and
Vinny's
straight up.
upstairs has ever been anything more than a really, really nice hat and a hoodie since I've seen him for a while. So I'm sure there's a mohawk in there somewhere.
So, anyways, he had
I
this band after the record deal. I said, hey, you should come to the Loft and record. And Tim recorded all these killer demos, then you can take it from there.
Oh, there was one other instance right before we started recording, and it was down at Toledo at that place by the strip club, the big place, right?
Which one? We have so many strip
I know,
clubs.
right?
Roxanne's.
Right? Yeah, it's by Roxanne's, right?
They call it Toledo for a reason. Oh, Vinny left.
He's
Oh, Vinny's back.
We're
Oh, he's back.
I'm trying my hardest here.
Come on.
How did that happen? That's amazing. Oh, Mike Pigeon just showed up and flipped the switch, right?
Oh, wow. Everything
Right,
looks great. Everything's lined up now.
Okay, good. This is good. Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
So anyway, I went down to see Vinny playing drums with that band Warp Drive that Andy was doing sound for. And afterwards I go up to Vinny, and I was a music student at the time in Ann Arbor. And I go up to Vinny and I say, man, that is like some of the best drumming I have ever seen in my life. Cause he's this octopus monster, man. It's like every foot is flying like Bonham and his arms are going, it's crazy. So I said, that's the greatest show I've ever seen. He looks at me and goes, you got a car? I said, yeah.
My drums are stuck here. Help.
He goes, can you give me a ride home? And he had to go back up to Detroit. I'm like, yeah, it's 4 a.m, of course, right?
Oh,
No, he knows that. He knows the story. He was,
I actually had 2 live feeds of Vinny. I don't know how this is going on, but I'm trying to alternate between the 2.
Hey, we're on. I gotta go.
This is the greatest podcast ever.
We just had some dude phase out of existence.
right, dude.
Dude, I was on this podcast and lead singer of Sponge just.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi.
This is an alternate.
Is it echoing?
Hey, by the way, that's what the vocals sounded like.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that's what we're hearing.
Oh, I know.
All right, I'm gonna mute this microphone. Vinny.
No.
Oh, should I let it go?
I think it's my router, my microphone.
The next Sponge album is going to have this on it.
Can you just say I'm the Lizard King?
And if I get a martini.
This is like a freak out, man.
All right. So maybe I'm going to direct this next question. Allow me to mute that. I'm so sorry. Let me
Oh my God, good for you.
allow me to direct the next question towards the Patalan brothers, simply because Vinny is in a state of
Fourth dimension.
He's in outer space
perpetual-
right now.
whatever this is. I love the excitement. This is awesome. Has there ever been any instruments or equipment that has been used along the way that really stands out, that helped define the Sponge sound, even from the beginning or even through all of the albums, including the why am I flipping out on the beer sessions for some reason?
Okay.
I don't know.
The last one.
Is all the way from the beginning to the beer sessions, is there any albums that really stood out? Or I'm sorry, instruments or equipment that really made those sounds?
The first thing that comes to my mind is Vinny's lighter.
Oh,
He would be flick. Almost, I think every record he'll have it chick flick or change or something on his pockets. So basically,
His rings, the skull ring.
the skull ring.
scoring. All right, Vinny, you're back live if it's okay. Was there any guitars or amps that you guys had or pedals that were used either in Rotting Pinata all the way up through the beer sessions that really was something that was consistent that you liked?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. One more thing, then Tim could answer. But the TC Electronics chorus phaser pedal.
Yep.
The square one with the plug. That's on almost everything. Yes.
So one of the things that I got into was that we used the most iconic thing that I ever used was a banjo, a dobro, and an ebo. So I used the ebo on the strings and a dobro on the bridge area of the strings, and I made whale noises for one of my band's songs.
Yep.
And
Sweet.
just being able to do something like that to like bring in, that's your defining thing.
Sure.
It doesn't define your entire album, but it can take a song to a completely fucking different level. The new Pearl Jam album does stuff like that just destroy.
Well, speaking of another instrument that ends in O, the oboe is what made the I Got You Babe such an important song. I got you, right? Yeah, so what it is if you add a character sound to a great song, it imprints onto that and becomes part of it.
Are you talking like Peter and the Wolf kind of shit?
Well, you named 3 instruments that ended with O, so I just it brought up the oboe, of course.
Yeah, but like the Peter and the Wolf used oboe for the overall.
The bassoon, that's bassoon, right?
All right, hold on for 1 second. What I would like to do really quickly.
We're getting into woodwinds. That always tweaks out Zach Ward. You can't.
We're going off to the atmosphere here. We put on the podcast here, spongetheband.com is where you can find all of the information or how you can reconnect or connect with Sponge here today. Vinny hasn't said a whole lot, and I kind of feel bad because he's been in delay world. Vinny, when you were in between Loud House and Rotting Pinata, what was happening? Because we know that the hair metal, heavy metal hair band stuff was coming to an end, but you were writing this album, I assume. What was the process? Did that come through? Yes, no, maybe so.
Oh, he might be muted.
All right, hold on 1 second. Vinny has 2 feeds, so let me try. Hold on a second here. Let's try this one. Oh, it's saying, hey, we're limited to 6 people. What are you doing? Let's kick this from studio, and then let's add this one.
Oh, this is good. This is good. Oh, hey.
Oh, it's a different view.
It's a totally different view.
All right, Vinny, you there?
nice nose.
Oh, so
he's clean. He's good.
He signed on the phone and the computer, right?
Yeah, pick the phone up.
I'm trying both.
I'm
trying both.
That works. That one works good.
But this one,
yes.
I'm kind of like it's. Now that one, that's going sideways. Oh, the echo.
All right, so Tim and Andy.
Yes. Okay. So
holy shit, the mushrooms are kicking in.
Right? No. Okay. So there was a time where Vinny was demoing songs, and you're right about the fact that they didn't sound like what was popular at the time, like all the rock stuff that was going on. And he's writing these strange English influenced kind of, great heavy rock, like deep detuned stuff coming off the heels of his Loud House stuff. But he was drumming and singing for some of these things because he was the only one that was hearing it. He was Phil Collinsing the entire thing.
Oh,
man.
Man.
Seriously, right?
And seriously, I feel bad that Phil Collins got such a bad rap for so long. Like, dude, you did a fucking good job. You really good job, dude. Good job, Phil Collins.
It's like video directors that also edit. They get it streamlined, and Vinny was doing the same thing. He was like playing what he was going to sing to.
And
You're doing the two primaries.
All right, hold on, Andy. Hold on, Andy. Hold on, Tim. Let's sound check Vinny. Vinny, what say you?
The internet's bullshit.
This is like the window of wildlife at the zoo, and I love it. Vinny, is your earbuds in your laptop? Because I think we're in the laptop.
Is they?
It looks like laptop. Ready to sign and hold it up. Vinny, put your earbuds in it.
He's smiling though. That's good.
Someone just commented that on the thing. They said, sign it.
Like Garrett Morris. Vinny!
Hey!
Vinny?
Yes. Don't touch anything.
I won't.
Perfect.
You got me?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
You guys
Yes,
you
sir.
know what? Why don't you just start talking because you haven't been able to talk the whole time? Just tell us a story.
Hey, Vinny. So here we go. Let me ask you this: Loud House is what you're coming out of the group Loud House in Detroit. You started forming the band Sponge in 1991. Rotting Pinata was released in 1994. can you tell us a little bit about what happened in between that? And aside from that, how you had a relationship or started a relationship with these two guys that had a recording studio in a barn.
Mm-hmm.
I think, when you talk about a barn, I think maybe some folks would have been put off by the idea of like and understand this, coming out of the 80s when people made records with shit tons of money in these huge fucking recording studios. You got a studio in a barn. That might not sound too appealing, but these guys just had a willingness to really think out of the box, especially like when Tim's talking about a story with the band, and we had a good gig at the Blind Pig, and I asked him if he's got a car. I mean, it's really a leap of faith getting involved in a situation like that, a guy like me or my particular situations, but it's a leap of faith for everybody involved. So to say to Tim, I just wrote this song, can we come record it at your studio? And he goes, yeah. And it's like late at night. I mean, it's not like you're going through a record label and you're setting things up properly and going into a proper studio.
Doing it.
It's a huge, 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 huge leap of faith on everybody's part. So where everybody would be looking for a plan, we're the kind of guys that just go, you know what? Amongst us all, like that's like Tim and Andy are like the invincible crew of dudes for whatever you need. So it's like, I never doubted for a second we couldn't do anything we wanted to do, because when you got guys that have that kind of faith and intellect, you go, anything's possible. So there was no money flowing at that time, and there was no great situation going on at that time. But we're going, if we can do this together, we can make something out of just the collective faith and intellect with the thing. As crazy as that all sounds.
No, that's it. Does anything sound crazy these days?
Well,
really,
let me
like seriously.
Okay. Oh, hold on, because I think that we need to have this on the record. Like, what was the first, Vinny? When was the first time that you came to the Loft Studio, and what did you guys accomplish? Like, what was it with Sponge? Was it where in 1991 to 1994 did this happen?
Probably around 92, but going back to where it's like Andy was maybe in his first year of college, the first thing that we accomplished was his mom used to pack him lunch, like these great lunches. And, you're a guy from Detroit, and we go into like the loft to his folks' house. We pick Andy up to go on the road, and his mother packed him all this great food. That food was gone in 10 fucking minutes.
Oh, fuck, your mom gave you 2 snacks? Those are my fucking.
I guess the next question, Andy, what kind of snack packs were you eating at that time, Andy?
Pudding.
Oh,
pudding.
No.
It was Gawumki. It was Gawumki, man.
Or ham.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Salsa.
So, Vinny.
Wait, what's that? No, I'm sorry. Excuse me for being like ignorant. What? Gawumki?
Gawumki. Polish. It's stuffed
It's
cabbage.
Polish.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I am.
It's pigs in a blanket. Pigs in a blanket.
Okay.
For Polish people.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
It's just pigs in a blanket for Polish people.
It's cabbage.
I'm sorry. I'm hanging out with
cabbage,
like 5 Polish people.
Hey, listen.
And
It's
I'm
cabbage.
Italian, so.
It's like if you take the innards of a like
Pig.
a stuffed green pepper thing, and you put in cabbage. It's cabbage, whatever. But we're not here to talk about pierogies, pivo, and whatever. So
Polish food is good.
It is.
it is very good.
I've never had anything bad.
Vinny, you what was the transition from becoming a drummer from the Loud House group, and then now you're kind of like, I'm going to do the songwriting thing. What was that transition for you, or were you always a songwriter?
Well, I certainly wrote songs with Loud House. Is the key to that. Always enjoyed writing songs with other bands, but the Loud House thing, Kenny, who was singing at the time, Kenny and I were like, we were thick as thieves. So to think about replacing him, and we tried, was kind of just an absurd idea in that, there was somebody that I worked closely with that I trusted a whole lot that was no longer there anymore. So you just sit and go, well, you remove that, then you go, who are you going to fork over the trust to? So we auditioned people, but we continued to write all during that audition process. Mike and Joey would hand over ideas on the guitars, and we would rehearse and write songs, and we had the opportunity to record. So we continued to do that. So it was just like a pretty natural kind of transition to some extent. But then, we went out and played a lot of gigs. Like Andy, from what I recall, was doing a lot of Solid Frog gigs at the time, and we would open up for Solid Frog, and we would just play.
It always works out that way, though.
Huh?
It always works out that way. If you have like the family of bands that have this thing that are going on with each other, you're like, hey, man, open up with us on this thing. It works out really good.
But, at the end of the day, you sit and go, who really would have known what could possibly happen with the thing? And I still think to this day, I go, was there any particular goal? Like, we were going to get signed again, and try to run this up the flagpole. It was still really doing some stuff that we thought was pretty cool, and would it work? Yeah. Nobody knew.
Well, when you know that you're making music in the early days, that it's really for you at that point, more so because you knew you had a little bit of a following or whatever it is from the gigs that you're playing, but it was a local level, and you're just trying to do the best job that you can. So I will segue this.
You play by playing music for yourself, man.
It's still for sure.
Play what you write as a group, and if that group's writing manages to speak to enough people, that's what you do. And
so
let's peaks and valleys.
Let's just cut a couple things to the chase. I mean, obviously the Riding Pinata thing was
huge,
monstrous, maybe more for us than a lot of people here in Toledo. What was the first official copy of Riding Pinata that did you receive for all three of you guys? Was it a cassette tape, a CD, a vinyl? And do you still have it?
I think Tim would have probably gotten the first copy of something. I mean,
yeah.
The master.
The great thing about it is, I don't know if you guys have ever visited record companies, but back in the day, you would go hang out, and then you would walk to the end, and they would open up the cabinet, and they'd have their entire catalog.
Yeah,
you would just start taking whatever, Martha Hoople, Double Live, everything you could find.
They have like 10 or 12 of them all fucking like sacked up that you could just grab whatever you wanted. Yep.
Yeah, so I had a huge bag, and on top of that was one of the Sponge demo records that looked like an actual sponge. It was like a yellow on the top and green on the bottom.
Was it a cassette?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And then the first demo, the first cassette of it, and then the first CD of it. So yeah, it just had two songs. It had what Plowed and Nina Menashe, I think.
Wow.
I think Vinny would know that, but yeah, I have those still for sure. Okay, Nina Menashe is a great song. It's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
So Vinny, do you have anything as well that from what was the first thing that you ever had professionally that came out of Riding Pinata? Was it a cassette or
like a yacht? Or something like that.
Well, I have this. Hell yeah.
Well,
divorced. Owns a yacht.
You do live in Michigan. I don't know. Maybe so. But did you get a cassette, a CD, of something? Anything?
I got one of the only memories I have of the early days, and I keep replaying this in my head, was me and Paluzzi at the time. We went to this big sound stage in New York City, probably Manhattan, like a Sony event, and they were introducing a lot of the new records. And me and Paluzzi were so irritated about waiting in line for a beer. We walked to the liquor store next door, we got two fucking bags, and walked right back inside and kept drinking.
Fuck you!
Yeah. That's all I know.
Good. Pretty good.
Well, see, there's no, I mean, us in Toledo, you guys up in Detroit, I mean, there's no doubt that we're drinkers. Sorry, folks. That's just what it is. And most people really can't hang with that.
We're halfway classy drinkers, though. I mean, it's not like we're not bottom of the barrel drinkers. We go a couple of shelves up.
Wow. Did anybody talk about Frankie's for a second?
Please do.
Seriously,
There we go.
My first show ever was Frankie's.
My first show ever, by the way. But yeah, go on.
Good job, Frankie's, you fucking devirginizing pervert.
Ooh.
Vinny,
I'm sorry, was that too serious?
Vinny, what do you want to say about Frankie's here in Toledo? What would you like to say?
I mean, we played downstairs. I mean, there was a downstairs and there was an upstairs. Did you guys play downstairs and upstairs?
Both.
No, I would never lower myself to play downstairs. Did you?
Certainly never playing both. Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Well, you're talking about Frankie's. You're talking about like the asylum and
because the asylum and the underground.
Frankie's, like back. I remember playing
Tiny Place.
Oh yeah, Frankie's.
Oh, sure, man. But it's
no, it was a good. That was one of the places.
Didn't the roof fall in
brothers? What's that?
Didn't the roof fall into that place? I remember seeing a gig there, and like water was pouring in the back.
This must be the second time because about like 11 months ago it was starting to cave in on the back.
Oh really?
Totally.
My favorite story going there when the Loud House I was doing sound for Loud House, I think it was at Frankie's, and I'm walking around and I see all those 8x10s, and I look up and there's one that says Firehouse. I'm like, sweet, Firehouse played here, you know. Oh yeah, and I think Vinny comes up to me and goes, no, but Vinny comes up to me and goes, it says Fire Hose. I'm like, who's that?
Oh shit! Mike Watt! Mike Watt! Yeah! Totally different.
That's a fucking. Oh, you know what? I'll take both of them.
I'll take Firehose.
Firehose.
Oh. So let's. I would go ahead.
Don't
Andy.
stop. Don't leave Frankie's. Don't leave Frankie's, please.
How would you? No, we're gonna leave Frankie's, Andy. We're leaving Frankie's. Forced and
Frankie's though, man.
I know.
I
know.
That was.
I mean, you ask yourself what you want to get out of the gig. I got to be honest with you. The one thing I remember about Frankie's the most, and it was a great Loud House gig, and I'm back there rocking, and I'm going, this is so great. I think my head's going to explode, and I go, okay, my head's going to explode, and I go, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I passed out behind one of the bars and hit my head and started bleeding, and my head actually exploded.
I will tell you that if Rob Croak is listening today, which he may or may not, because he owned or still owns Frankie's, many amazing experiences, and we've had Smashing Pumpkins started there with the Gish tour. We've had Loud House. We've had so many different. We've had the B-52s there.
Fucking Highbinder played there. Holy shit!
Yeah, we're talking Lobster. What's the B-52 things?
Did I tell you guys my fire hose story yet?
Please no. Let's just do this.
Please do. Segue.
So I was there. I was looking at.
Tim, are you up there? Are you up there in the rafters of the?
I'm on the hill, man. Absolutely. I just saw a skunk walk by a little while ago. It's
fucking
great.
Beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Vinny, I got to ask you really quickly because I dive bombed into interviews and whatever it is. You have a small respect for a band called Fear.
I fucking love Fear.
Back in the day. Was that ever an influence, or what part of that early punk revolution? Because we're talking about Firehose and obviously Minutemen and stuff like that. Fear, was that ever? Because I know that you mentioned that before in an interview. Was that ever a big influence on you?
Yeah, absolutely. At first, there was a cook at the restaurant I worked with, a Clock Restaurant at 6th and Gratiot, probably in 1980, 81. And Fear had been around a couple of years at that point, but being inundated with the usual rock radio, which is at that point was still, Led Zeppelin and all that stuff, man.
Right.
Fear was incredibly liberating.
What a shift.
It is just, it's not radio and they're talking about shit that ain't about like Vikings and fucking Stairway to Heaven. I just go, thank God they're talking about, you know, New Jersey and saxophones and beef bologna, and you go, okay, that's pretty cool, man.
Beef.
Beef bologna.
So let me ask this question. As it's talking about the 90s, one of the things I most remember, because I remember seeing you play in Toledo and like very, very big gigs, and you always had a amazing like outfit of some sort, and even going on MTV or whatever that was. So my question to you is, you've rocked some very memorable outfits. How did you develop that style, and where did you find these outfits that came to be like the sponge thing for so many years?
Well, I just took anything that Scott Weiland threw away and I wore it.
Oh, whatever. Oh, whatever. Fuck that shit.
Oh no! Way to have
the floor.
No, way to have your fucking bullshit in like.
That's
That's way to have your
bullshit I've ever heard in my
I'm
fucking life.
great with
Fuck
that.
you. Fuck
Good
that.
for you, dude.
Oh, that's such bullshit. So anyway, getting back to the question, where did you find these outfits? I remember painting.
And how did you sweat? Like seriously, most of that shit was so tight upon you that you would have suffocated in your own skin.
Huh. It was tight upon me.
Yeah.
He goes, huh.
Well, it's easy. You find a snake made of velour and you make him follow you.
This is the finest Corinthian leather I can offer your chest.
The one thing I remember from Vinny was he always like slapped us like his mic cable like he was the Tiger King nowadays.
Oh no.
Not like that, Andy. I'm just saying.
Seriously, can we talk about Tiger King? Has
No.
anybody else, Vinny, Andy, Tim, anybody watched any Tiger King?
Who can
I'm
accept
not there yet.
Finished it last night. Yep.
Tim-
I have one more episode. Seriously,
Not there
guys,
yet.
Tim
I
is
don't
in the
watch
cage
TV.
literally right now.
I don't watch TV. I don't watch this shit. Oh my God. What a fucking roller coaster. What a great, like, if you're gonna get me into reality show TV, and I fucking hate it. I hate it. This is the way to do it.
I agree with you,
What a
Andy,
gr-
but this isn't Tiger King tonight. So let me just sidestep really quickly. In the early days, or stepping aside from the early days, what are some of the standout tracks from each one of you three? From New Pop Sunday, from All the Drugs in the World, The Man, Galore, Stop the Bleeding, and the Beer Sessions. What are some of these standout tracks for your fans that may not know that all these albums are accessible to them today? What are your favorites?
Well, you probably just named a bunch of albums that people are like, I didn't even know they were together.
Holy shit. No, man. You had the people that got down with it. They stuck with it. I'm one of those people. I stuck with it. I liked it. I kept going with you guys. And that's one of those things is you end up whittling down your fan base to the people that really care about what you're doing. You have this explosion.
What are the standout tracks for you three? And it could be individually. Tim, let's start with you. What are some of the standout tracks from all these albums that you've been involved in?
Oh, when you're talking about that one that has Lackluster Love on it, and that is one of my favorite songs, especially doing that one live. Everything about it just comes together, right? That was New Pop. Was that New Pop?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That
Right.
That record we made one time with John Kolodner at the request of Sony, and then we made a record that nobody liked, not even Sony. So we came back and went back to the loft and we remade that record, right, Tim? I mean, we literally said, where are we going to start? How are we going to rebuild?
Yeah, no, it's funny. What can we keep and what do we want to get rid of? The funny thing is every drum part's the same, so we got to keep most of the drums anyway, right? I mean, for every song in the world.
You stringy motherfuckers need to get your game on because the fucking rhythm section's already taken care of.
Exactly, right? Yeah. But one of the interesting things that working with Vinnie is you learn how to hear a song the way it could be, not the way that it is. So the very first time, I heard those songs, it's like, oh, this is exactly where we could go with it. And Vinny's famous for just flipping a song on its ear. And you're like, wow, where did that come from, man? But it's awesome. So that's like standard operating procedure. Like the song is already there.
Sometimes all the parts are there. You just got to fucking push them.
I mean, credit though, bro. It's like you couldn't sit there and do. I mean, no, not too much disrespect to Kolodner, but you couldn't do that with Kolodner, man. You know what I mean? It's like going into the loft. That's like a.
There's another analogy you could think of it this way, guys. Is that if the song, they say, don't judge the person by the clothes, and if the song is the person, the production is the suit that they're wearing. So when you hear these songs, you're like, man, you got the wrong suits on, guys. You look like, YM, Village People, and we're clearly at a Metallica. One of you guys looks good, the rest are silly. Same thing, right? You can change the way the song comes across in its style just by putting different clothes on it.
So is that like how Scott Weiland would come out in front with the?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
No, he'd have the clown wig. He'd have the clown wig on. I remember this. He'd have the clown wig on and the fucking bullhorn. And he'd come out doing fucking Cracker Man. And he would give you this, but you can use it to your advantage. This false sense of security. Yeah. Oh, look at this dude acting like an asshole. And then all of a sudden something happens and like sex type thing comes on and you're like, holy fucking shit. You just flipped me on my ear. The same way a lot of fans.
Well, especially coming off of what the norm was years in advance. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it was really bizarre.
You really wanted to fucking punch somebody in the toe and make them trip over their own feet at that time.
There's a couple things I want to point on really quickly before we end this podcast and go into our after show. So bear with me really quickly. You guys are certainly local celebrities in the Detroit area, and you seem to stay really pretty close to accessible to your fans. Tell us about the Sponge Pub Crawl and how did it start? And what's your favorite part about being in that event?
Andy better take that one, man.
Go, Andy, go.
Andy, what part of the strip club limousine business did you have affiliation with?
Where are your boobies?
No,
I'm just joking.
You have a lot of time in the van to come up with nutty, crazy promotional ideas. We could do this, we could do that, we could all these things and you keep throwing them out there and sometimes something sticks. And the one stuck was, this not even a pub crawl. It was a set up and play at 3-4 clubs. I envisioned it initially as 5-6.
Yeah, it was.
I think I heard a story about someone like taking a plane to different continents and playing a show in different continents. Like, well, that's not realistic. Let's just do it at different bars on the east side. So anyways.
Detroit or Toledo.
and my personal favorite part of it, obviously, the people show up wasted and it's just a ball from the beginning. It's just fantastic. But I really love playing 3 or 4 different versions, meaning we're setting up on somebody else's gear, or we're playing acoustic, or we're playing a guitar or an amp we don't know, or
something something that makes it different, something that actually gives you a little bit of an adversary in your I mean, the last year the place we played was so small, we had to play 2 shows in one place because it held like 45 people in it. So the 4 buses we had to come in shifts. That was just fantastic. That's great.
People
fantastic.
Were this close to you when you're playing. You're like, hey.
I thought you were going to say you had to go outside to change your mind.
All right. So really quickly, guys, because we are coming up on the 45-minute timeline that we do. I've put a link on this stream called patreon.com/Simple Blasphemy. We're going to have a Slimple. I've had a lot of
slay at home, guys.
A lot of slurring here. We're gonna do an app. I know Slurpee, Slippy, Swansea,
Slurple burst from her.
Samsonite. We're gonna have an after party for at least a few minutes after the show stops. If you would like to have all access, it's only $1. It supports our show. Patreon.com.
He's not talking to you guys. He's talking to anybody listeling to us.
Can they ask questions there? Can they ask questions?
Anybody can ask whatever question they want to. And I will tell you right now, if you are a diehard Sponge fan, and you have no interest in Simple Blasphemy, just instant message us on a Simple Blasphemy podcast. I will send you the link. Come hang out with us. You don't have to pay the $1.
Oh, you're gonna be copying and pasting?
I will be copying, pasting, because the Sponge legacy in music for at least Toledo and many other people
Tri-state,
is
multiple state area,
I have
international area.
The last question I have, it can be for all of you, but I really like to ask this one for Vinnie first because it's kind of a bizarre thing.
Please
so here we go.
Penis.
Yeah, here we go. What is the difference between jeopardizing your success in the music business in the 90s compared to jeopardizing your success in the music today?
Well, I wouldn't know about today. I completely jeopardized and destroyed my career in the 90s.
No.
And you know, I certainly think I paid for it to this day. You know, jeopardizing, you know, I've been unfortunately involved in doing some pretty stupid fucking things. And, you know, I certainly believe to this day, man, you know, it, and of course, I don't think you ever want to really jeopardize your career to begin with, you know, but you're kind of a crash test dummy when you're in the rock and roll business. You know, you go out there, people love a car wreck. They love to see you goof up. So it kind of like nudges you on to do stupid shit. But, you know, I certainly jeopardized my career years ago, but didn't even think about it at the time. So I'm paying for it today.
I would disagree personally, only because I have a biased opinion on that. Once again, I have to say I know Andy more so from his other musical adventures before Sponge. But you three gentlemen, it has been nothing more than an honor to put this on video and for people to witness. And thank you for everybody that's listening here today. Sponge has been such a monster influence on my own personal musical life. Andy, I know that. Zach, he might be dozing off. I don't know. But
no, not me.
I say Zach. Hey, Vinny, man, it's been a long fucking time, dude.
So he just,
oh my God, 7 minutes.
He's still alive.
We just made
I thought it was just a nodding.
Let house.
So here's what's going to happen really quickly. Before the show ends, Zach Green, who has COVID-19, actually, and Vinny were working in the same place. Vinny was teaching drum lessons. Zach was
the guitar technician there,
or something like that. We're going to go into that a little bit. We're going to do like a little bit of an after show for about anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. Once again, if you want to be a part of the after show, but you don't want to be a part of our retarded podcast, that's totally fine. Please just send us an instant message in Simple Blasphemy or Facebook or whatever it is, and we'll just send you the link. You're more than welcome to join us. Get your questions together. Tim put a lot of Pantene Pro V and a lot of product in his hair tonight that he deserves a few questions. Andy,
yes,
you know what I mean? Andy has hid that with his hat, but he clearly has a gentleman's beard and looks maybe like the captain of the Titanic movie, whatever that is, but who cares?
What's with you and Titanic lately?
I don't know.
What the fuck, dude?
Star Trek.
Aside from that, everybody, thank you for listening. The Sponge gentlemen, hang tight for 1 second, and I'll give you a code. Hold on, here we go. That was not the right. Come on.
Wow.
Wow. Still going.
All right. Well, hold on.